Hi, I'm Adriana, and today I'd like to talk about James Rowland's newest entry into the Sigma Force series, The Last Odyssey. So to start, I would like to talk about the series as a whole, and then work into a non-spoiler review, and then at the end I'll include some spoilers. So if you haven't read the book yet, which you really should, I'll let you know when I'm about to get into the spoilers. So like I said, to start, the Sigma Force series as a whole is about a group of kind of special forces scientists. I think James Rowland himself has described it as scientists with guns before, and kind of the crazy adventures and missions they have to go on because they have such specialized skills and knowledge. So all of his books are usually kind of start as a historic mystery, and then interwoven is a bunch of kind of modern or cutting edge science. I kind of think of it as like a mix of Da Vinci Code and kind of Jack Ryan with like some of the political intrigue of spies and whatnot. And then, of course, like I said, the modern cutting edge science. There are a multitude of kind of main characters, and a lot of these books are told from different perspectives of the different agents and some side characters that kind of get sucked into the group over the course of the series. So overall, if you hadn't read this series and you somehow stumble onto this video, I would highly recommend it. James Rowland is one of my favorite authors, and I think this book, specifically The Last Odyssey, has been his best work yet. I've read a lot of his standalones and of course this whole series, and this one stands out above and beyond everything he's ever written. So yeah, getting into this book, like I said, all of his books are some sort of historic mystery with science kind of interwoven through the modern day portrayal of this historic mystery. So in this one, the historic mystery is, as you could kind of guess from the title, the Odyssey / the Iliad, the aftermath, I guess, of the Trojan War. And what was Odysseus's path really looking like? How much of what has been passed down through oral tradition and through Homer's writings really true? Because they have found that Troy was a real historic place. There's a lot of evidence to show that there was possibly a really big war there and destroyed the whole thing. So yeah, what does that mean for all of these stories we have surrounding the whole Trojan War and the aftermath and the effects of the Trojan War? So, like I said, normally in his books, it's like cutting edge modern science that he includes, stuff like artificial intelligence, DNA splicing, biowarfare, like I said, cutting edge stuff. But this one, I guess he kind of threw it back a little bit. So a couple years ago, when they unearthed one of these ancient seafaring ships, they actually found something called an Antikythera device, and it's basically an ancient analog computer. So I think James Rowland has even said that kind of sparked his interest in some of this ancient technology and how we kind of discredit a lot of these ancient societies and how they were really actually quite advanced. A lot of their pneumatics, mechanics, aqueducts, stuff like that, indoor plumbing, had been around long before the modern age. So I think he used this book as kind of a way to bring that all back to the surface and really show that these ancient societies were just as advanced as we were. We've just been building off of other knowledge for a little bit longer. Like I said, I think this is his best book to date. I think it's a really incredible message. I think he has really consistent theming through the whole thing. Like all of his action sequences are crazy. They're fast-paced but really clear. You can totally envision everything that's going on. I can't wait for this to be eventually turned into a movie or TV series. Somebody's got to pick it up because they're just incredible stories. I think he writes really awesome characters and relationships and is really good at developing those over the course of this series. I don't think you necessarily have to read these in a series. The first one I read was actually somewhere in the middle, and then I realized I enjoyed it and I went back to Sandstorm and read them all sequentially. But like I said, you don't really need to read these in order, but if you do, you just get a little bit deeper into these characters and how they've developed and how their relationships have developed within their little group. And then my favorite part of this book is the villains. He has written some incredible villains for this book. I think far above and beyond what I'm seeing in any other medium, even TV, other books, movies. Like, these villains are just insane and so cool. So like I said, I think it's really worth picking up this book. You get to see some character development and some characters we haven't gotten to spend a whole lot of time with. We get to see kind of, I guess not the finishing of an arc, but the finishing of a mini character arc for one character particularly. And I think it's super worth picking up and reading. So I think now I'm going to jump into the spoiler part and get a little more in depth into what I mean by the incredible villains and some of these character arcs and multi-book arcs. So if you haven't read it yet, sign off now, read the book. It's incredible. Love it. So I think the first character I really want to jump into is one of my personal favorites. It's Seishan. She started out actually as one of the bad guys in the series, and through, I guess, initially becoming friends with one of the main characters, Gray, and then eventually falling in love with him, being in a relationship. A couple books ago, she got pregnant. The last book, she was pregnant the whole book, and then this book she has their child Jack, and kind of seeing how that relationship has progressed with Gray, and then how her own development with having a kid, I think is really interesting, because she didn't really have much of a childhood or much of a role model for mothering. So seeing what she does with that is really cool. And like I said, this is the one I was talking about where this has kind of been like a multi-book arc for her. 2 books ago, which one was that? Whatever, 2 books ago, I think at the end of that one is where they kind of drop the bombshell that she's pregnant. And you would get to kind of see into her mind about how this knowledge is affecting her. And then the last book, she was very pregnant through the whole thing, and how she kind of dealt with knowing that she was putting herself, when she was putting herself in danger, she's also putting her new child in danger. And then this book, we kind of see her grappling with being an incredible mother, but also being her own person, which I think is something that's really cool. I don't have children personally, but I think that is something a lot of mothers struggle with, especially new moms, of trying to pour your entire self into this new being that you brought into the world, but also recognizing that you can't pour yourself into somebody else if you have no self. You need to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. So I think her arc through this story was really incredible, starting off as what Gray called the tiger mom, and again putting her whole self into this child and almost losing herself in this new relationship with her child, and then going on this mission and realizing that she likes being away from her kid and kind of the guilt that's associated with that, but then over the course coming to terms with how having her own thing and how taking care of herself in this kind of energetic way, I guess just taking care of herself and really stimulating herself in a different way is allowing her to take care of Jack better. And Gray noticed that at the end when he says she's really seemed to have gotten this whole balance thing down of, being the tiger mom, but also just being the tiger and being an incredible woman and an incredible mom. So love that. Seishan's my favorite character. I love how much time and care James Rowlands has really put into this character, because it would have been really easy to just kind of throw her in as a stereotype let her be the badass assassin and never had really developed her. So I guess another character that got a lot of development that I think previous to this had been a little more on kind of the hokey stereotype side is Kowalski. A lot of this book is told from his perspective, which is incredible because I mean up until this point he was just kind of like a lumbering, stogie, smoking big guy. And that was kind of his whole thing. He liked to blow shit up, he liked to shoot guns. You really never got to see anything more to him than that. And so to see this book, all of the insecurities he has about, you know, not really having the same sort of level of scientific knowledge and expertise that the other people in his team do, and not being as clever as Gray, and I guess some of the insecurities he's starting to see with his relationship and all this stuff, I think it really humanizes him and makes him a real character. And I think after this book, he's gonna become one of my favorite characters. Like, I think he was just really incredible. And, you know, seeing his relationship with Maria really bloom at the end of this book, and, you know, his relationship with Baco, the monkey? No, he's an ape. He's a primate of some sort. Yeah, and then, you know, getting engaged to Maria and us getting the news that he only has 2 years left, potentially, to live, which we'll see how that plays out. I'm sure with all of the Sigma people around, they will find a way to make sure that he survives this. And then, you know, jumping into some side characters that I thought were really neat. Charlie, the boat captain, I really enjoyed her. She's a little bit of a Mary Sue, but I think a lot of his characters kind of start out that way, where they seem so like over the top incredible, but then later on you kind of get a chance to like see who they really are and like who they are as people. On the surface they just seem like super dope, like G.I. Joe, but then you get to kind of delve into their brain. So I hope we get to see Charlie again. I really liked her. I mean, it'd be cool to bring her back. And then I guess kind of where I want to go next is my favorite part of all of his books is the villains. And I thought the villains in this one were over the top incredible. This, you know, multi-religion, multi-country, multi-class, just cult of crazy people trying to bring around the end of the world for all of their own kind of individual reasons, but banding together for this one purpose, I thought was really, really incredible. And I think they really did a good job for the overall theming of this book. I want to bring up a quote that I saw. That was I think a pretty big part of the theme in this novel. When Elena's father, the senator, says, "If you simply believe the world will come to an end and you do nothing to stop it, you are one of us." I think that's really kind of powerful, and I think that's something that we all need to kind of keep in the back of our minds, like disregarding the people who don't believe in climate change. Majority of people believe in climate change. And I think a lot of us have accepted it as something that's just kind of happening and something we don't have any control over. But that's probably not where we should be in our mindset. We should always be striving to leave the world better than we found it. I think that's something that's really important. Anytime you go anywhere or do anything or interact with somebody, you should try to leave places, people's, things better than you found them. And I think if everybody does that, it makes the entire world better. And I think that was kind of his main theme of this novel in regards to climate change. But I think it's a pretty good lesson for all facets of our life. So yeah, I think that's kind of my main pitch for the whole novel, and why I think everybody should read it, and why I thought it was the best that he's done. I super enjoyed it. I guess I'll end with kind of like two little tidbits that I thought they're small and don't really fit into the rest of the review, but they're just kind of funny and I like them. So when they're down in Tartarus, James Rowlands kind of pulls one of my favorite tropes in like film and novels and like media in general. But when Father Bailey sees the ancient Arabic writing on the wall, he's like, "Oh yeah, I studied Arabic like a long time ago, but this is like an ancient dialect and I don't really know how to read it." But then he just spouts out like perfect verses of like, I don't know. I always think that's really funny when somebody's like, "Oh yeah, like I studied Celtic in college, but like obviously this is an ancient dead language, but sure, like I know exactly what this script says and what it means and how to translate it perfectly." Um, so yeah, that's just one of my favorite tropes, and it made me giggle. And then also, like later on in the book, when Charlie and Elena are running away from Kadir, she shoots at the helicopter, and then like even puts in there that like, I know that this isn't gonna blow up the helicopter because this isn't a Hollywood movie. So, like, yeah, just kind of some fun little tidbits that he threw in there that made me laugh. So yeah, I definitely think everybody should read this book, and I guess comment if you've read it and what you like best about the book, what you thought about the characters, and kind of the implications of this book on the rest of the series. Thanks. Bye.